When you picture an ancient Greek statue, what comes to mind? For most of us, it's a world of serene, gleaming white marble. We fill our museums with these figures, admiring their timeless elegance and what we've been taught to see as a kind of pure, classical perfection. Their whiteness has shaped our entire mental image of antiquity as silent, stony world, preserved under glass. But what if I told you that image is completely wrong? That the brilliant world of the ancient Greeks wasn't minimalist and monochrome at all? Well, get ready, because that brilliant white world is a beautiful lie. Almost everything you think you know about these statues is based not on an artistic choice, but on a historical accident. That pristine, ghostly white we revere is just what's left after 2,000 years of being buried, weathered, and scrubbed clean. We're about to look at the microscopic evidence and amazing science that reveals the vibrant, almost shocking truth of what these ancient masterpieces really looked like. Prepare to see the ancient world in a way you never have before. Walk through any major museum, and you'll find them. Halls of gods, heroes, and emperors, all frozen in luminous white stone. And the effect is powerful, isn't it? The lack of color forces our eyes to focus on the form, on the incredible skill it took to render muscle and fabric. It gives the figures an ethereal, almost divine quality, separating them from our messy, colorful world. This aesthetic is so deeply ingrained in our culture that it is almost impossible to imagine them any other way. But here's the twist. The ancient Greeks never saw their statues this way. This whole idea of classical whiteness was born thousands of years later, during the Italian Renaissance. When artists and thinkers started unearthing these sculptures, the statues they found had been stripped bare by time. They made a huge mistake. It was like finding an old faded photograph and assuming the world it captured was always black and white. They mistook the damage of centuries for artistic genius. They saw color and sculpture as part of the less sophisticated medieval period they were leaving behind. Pure white marble, on the other hand, felt like a higher art form that relied on skill alone, not the cheat of superficial paint. Sculptors like Michelangelo ran with this idea, and their own works, like the famous David, cemented white marble as the gold standard of beauty. This new ideal was so powerful it was passed down for centuries, shaping not just art, but our entire philosophy of what beauty is. For hundreds of years, the world was in love with a ghost. The truth is, an ancient Greek artist would have looked at a masterpiece like Michelangelo as David and thought it was unfinished. For the Greeks, carving the marble was just step one. Leaving a statue unpainted would have been like a chef baking a perfect cake but never frosting it. The most important part was missing. This practice is called polychromy, from the Greek words for many in color, and it was fundamental to the artwork. So, what did these statues really look like? Forget the sterile white. Picture a world buzzing with color. Statues were decorated to be as lifelike and vivid as possible. We're talking reddish blonde or black hair, lips and nipples colored with deep reds, and eyes detailed with shimmering gemstones. Bronze statues often had copper inlaid on their lips to make them look flush with life, and some artists even used different metals to show blood dripping from a warrior's wounds. Clothing wasn't just white, it was a riot of bold colors and intricate patterns painted onto shields, helmets, and robes. The result wasn't the cold, distant art we see today, but something immediate, visceral, and powerfully alive. This can be a little jarring to our modern eyes, trained for centuries to appreciate the exact opposite. The colorful reconstructions can look almost gaudy, but that shock is the whole point. It reveals just how much our sense of beauty has been shaped by a historical misunderstanding. The big question then is, if all the paint is gone, how can we possibly know this for sure? The answer is a fascinating mix of archaeology, chemistry, and high-tech detective work. For decades, a dedicated group of researchers, led by German archaeologist Vincent Brinkmann, has been on the case. Starting in the 1980s, Brinkmann began looking at Greek sculptures, not just with his eyes, but with specialized tools. And he found something incredible. The statues weren't blank at all. Even after being weathered and cleaned, microscopic traces of the original paint are still there, hiding in the marble's pores. To find them, scientists use a technique called raking light. It's similar to when you tilt your phone screen in the sun to see faint fingerprints. By shining a bright light across the statue's surface at a low angle, ghost images of old patterns suddenly become visible. This is where it gets really futuristic. Using ultraviolet light works like a detective's black light at a crime scene. Under the UV rays, the faint chemical traces of ancient pigments glow, revealing lost designs like secret messages written in invisible ink. To identify the exact recipe of those paints, they use tools like X-ray fluorescence. Think of it like a medical scanner that can see inside the material, identifying the precise chemical elements, the ingredients without ever touching the surface. This is how they've rebuilt the entire ancient Greek paint box. Reds from cinnabar, blues from azurite, and greens from malachite. Armed with this data, Brinkmann and his wife Ulrike Cook Brinkmann began creating full-scale reconstructions, using the exact same minerals and binders, like egg, that the ancients used. They meticulously repainted plaster casts of these famous statues. The result is a traveling exhibition, gods in color. which has toured the world, challenging millions to see antiquity with fresh, colorful eyes. Okay, so the Greeks painted their statues. To understand that is to understand their entire worldview. To them, these weren't just objects in a gallery. They were powerful tools for religion, storytelling, and identity. First and foremost, color made the statues real. By painting them with lifelike skin tones, hair colors, and detailed clothing, the Greeks made these divine beings feel present and relatable. A statue of Athena wasn't an abstract concept. She was a vibrant, powerful figure standing right there, looking back at you. Color gave her life. Color was also a language. It told stories. Think of it like a uniform today. A doctor's white coat or a soldier's camouflage tells you who they are and what they do. The intricate patterns on a warrior's shield could communicate their family lineage. On architectural friezes, color was essential for helping people distinguish the figures and understand the story from a distance. A perfect example is the famous Trojan archer from the Temple of Ephesus. His brightly patterned leggings aren't just for show. They immediately identify him as a foreigner barbarian, in the eyes of the Greeks, making the story crystal clear to anyone who saw it. Ultimately, the ancient world was anything but minimalist. From their brightly painted temples to the colorful frescoes in their homes, the Greeks lived in a world saturated with color. The decision to paint their sculptures was just a natural extension of their expressive, dynamic, and deeply sensory culture. Leaving a statue bare would have seemed bizarre and incomplete, a denial of the vibrant world all around them. This rediscovery of polychromy does more than just add a fresh coat of paint to old stones. It fundamentally changes our understanding of the past. It forces us to confront the biases that have shaped our view of history, from the Renaissance idealization of white marble to the later racially charged theories of thinkers who refused to believe that the perfect Greeks would engage in such a primitive practice. We now know the world of Plato and Aristotle wasn't a sterile landscape of white, but a dazzling, multi-ethnic, and colorful place. Realizing this doesn't diminish the genius of Greek sculptors, it deepens it. We can now appreciate not one, but two layers of their artistry: the masterful carving of the stone and the intricate, expressive painting that completed their vision. So the next time you're in a museum, standing before a Greek statue, take a moment, look past the ghostly white that centuries have left behind. Try to imagine the brilliant reds, the deep blues, the shimmer of inlaid eyes. Try to see it not as a silent relic, but as it was meant to be seen, as a living, breathing piece of a loud and colorful world. If this changed the way you see ancient history, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more deep dives that challenge everything you think you know. And let us know in the comments, which famous statue would you most want to see in its original vibrant color? Thanks for watching.